Welcome back, everybody, to a huge bonus episode of the Jurassic Park Podcast. I am Brad Jost, and today we're going to be diving into the article from Anthony Bresnikan from Vanity Fair that just went completely wild this morning. We knew this article would be popping up today, and we've got the trailer coming tomorrow, but this is a treat. Like, we've got so much information. Our true first look at the dinosaurs, which is fantastic. And we got a little bit of teasers. We got one yesterday, we got a little one today. We saw the tail of a dinosaur, and today we're getting the whole thing. We've got the whole thing. This is crazy. So, this article is titled Jurassic World Rebirth Goes for the Jugular, with a quote, "There's a little bit of everything that's scary." So, there's going to be a lot of scary stuff in this, but let's go ahead and take a look. If this is the podcast form, I will be describing everything that I see here. We've got Luna Blaze in a image here, taking a look backwards at a T-Rex that is seemingly like the same kind of design that we see on Rexy. Looks to be exactly the same, as far as I can tell. I mean, look, I'm no expert on the way that these dinosaurs look, but it looks very similar to me. But the difference is the pattern. The skin pattern is very different looking. It doesn't exactly look like Rexy. It looks close, but it's got a very different pattern on the back, it seems. But there's a lot of information in this article. I will not read the entire thing, so go check it out through Vanity Fair. But I will read some snippets here. I have actually not read this myself, so I'm going to kind of be skimming through. And there's a quote here from Frank Marshall, and it says, "I've always said that visual effects are great. CGI is a great tool, but it makes you lazy because you know you can do anything," Marshall tells Vanity Fair. And he says, "It's got to be dangerous." Interesting quote to kick it off there. Maybe throwing visual effects under the bus a little bit, but like still, he's right though. You know, you got to use them kind of hand in hand. CGI is a great tool, but once you start to go wild with it, it just everything becomes CG, and it's like sometimes it's not super believable. So I get what he's going for there. And he said that, they said that became the mission for Rebirth. Here's a quote again from Marshall, and it says, "You're in a new place. You don't know what's around the corner. You've got a different jungle. You've got more water. You've got higher cliffs. There's a little bit of everything that's scary." So yeah, and then this is accompanied with a new image of Scarlett Johansson rappelling down a cliff or waterfall area. It looks like there's a waterfall behind her. Again, I don't know. Maybe this article tells me where we are. I don't know. But, it kind of is giving me the vibes of like, where they landed the helicopter, that kind of area where she's like rappelling down this area here with waterfalls kind of in the background. Cool picture, same outfit. You can see the gun back there. So pretty cool. But let's keep going here. And they do talk about the story following the recovery team, as we've heard before, as they venture to an island near the equator that was once home to the first Jurassic Park's research lab. Okay. This island near the equator was once home to the first Jurassic Park's research lab. Okay, I don't know what this means. Why do we have different labs on different islands? John Hammond, what were you doing? Why did you have so many places to make dinosaurs? The squad is trying to retrieve genetic material that could lead to a medical breakthrough for humanity. But 3 decades later, the mistakes made at that ruined facility have not gone away. They've endured, and they've only grown bigger. So Marshall says, these are dinosaurs that didn't work. There's some mutations in there. They're all based on real dinosaur research, but they look a little different. So there we go. Look, I mean, I've been saying this since before I knew it was going to be happening. So I continued my little trajectory of talking about these dinosaurs because I started talking about this a long time ago. When we first started hearing about this movie, I started thinking like, okay, this is going to be like, if you're going to have a sinister secret or something, it's got to be dinosaurs that are, the first of the product that maybe didn't go exactly right, and they're a little mutated, stuff like that. So that seems to be the case. Frank Marshall is confirming that here. Let's continue going here. It says a little bit about Gareth Edwards. And let's see. It says that when you make a creature, you get a big, massive pot, and you pour in your favorite monsters from other films and books. So I believe that's from Gareth Edwards. And it's So let's keep going here. It says more about Gareth Edwards and talking about a little bit about the dungeon from Return of the Jedi. Okay, and those references all turn up in one particular twisted dinosaur that turns up in the trailer coming Wednesday. And Edwards says some Rancor went in there. Some H.R. Geiger went in there. A little T-Rex went in there. Okay. So, this is it. So I've been talking about this a little bit on and off about some rumors and things that I've been hearing. And one of those things was this fact that it's not necessarily a dinosaur that we know, the kind of style that we see from these movies. I don't know if we're getting more into the territory of things like the Indominus, the Indoraptor, or more so the Scorpius Rex, which personally, I absolutely loved the Scorpius Rex. I think the Scorpius Rex was incredible, like super scary, super messed up. I just loved that creature. It didn't feel totally dinosaur to me, and I think that's okay. It felt like a grotesque monster, and that's what we've got here. That's what it sounds like. On one hand, I think maybe I was more accepting of it because of that trajectory that we got. They were testing on different creatures and trying to make this, this monster that eventually became the I guess the Indoraptor, but it was the Indominus at first, and it became the Indoraptor, and they were trying all these different things. So I guess this is kind of in a way like that. I don't know if it's a hybrid, but it's just a complete mess up of a dinosaur. That's what I'm getting from this. So Rancor. That's wild. Yeah. I don't know what to say or think about that, but if you put the word Rancor in there, I love the Rancor from Star Wars, from Return of the Jedi, as I mentioned before, and also from like the Book of Boba Fett. Awesome creature. Does it belong in a Jurassic movie? That kind of style? I don't know. So it says the thing that scared Edwards the most was living up to Rebirth's predecessor, which he feels has been disguised as family-friendly fare over the years. He says, Jurassic Park is a horror film in the witness protection program. Most people don't think of it like that. We all went to see it as kids, but I was scared, blank, to be honest, when I was at the cinema watching the T-Rex attack. It's one of the most well-directed scenes in cinema history. So the bar is really high high to come on board and try to do this. Totally agree there, to some extent. I think we were all super scared watching the T-Rex attack, but and I've had this conversation a lot over the years, and maybe you all can let me know what you think, but we've had a lot of episodes about Jurassic Park, Jurassic Park being a horror movie. And I don't think it is. It's got elements of horror. So it's not like a horror film in disguise. It's just got elements of horror in this kind of action adventure, science fiction adventure kind of movie. So I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting take for sure. But I think there are elements of horror sprinkled throughout this franchise. So to maybe make it more of a horror film is interesting. And I've said before, if Jurassic World Rebirth is the first film that like I can't take my son to go see, I'd be upset. I'd be a little sad because when I was 7 years old, that's when I saw Jurassic Park for the first time. That's just when it came out in 1993. And my son is now 7 years old and he's got a Jurassic movie coming out. And I'm like, oh my God, I could take him to, this movie. So hopefully I still can. Hopefully that's the case. But they go on to talk a little bit about David Koepp, who adapted Michael Crichton's 1990 novel. And they talk about source material, pulling out a scene for the new movie that he always hoped to use. Oh, okay. All right. So they reveal what it is. They reveal what it is. This is all me like reacting live in time. So he revealed that it's a sequence in which Dr. Grant and the two children, who are not characters in this new movie, attempt to drift through a lagoon in a rubber raft without waking a slumbering Tyrannosaurus Rex. They don't succeed and end up paddling for their lives. The Tyrannosaur, here's a quote. It says, the Tyrannosaur was now chest deep in the water, but it could hold its big head high above the surface, Crichton wrote. Then Grant realized the animal wasn't swimming, it was walking, because moments later, only the very top of the head, the eyes and nostrils, protruded above the surface. By then, it looked like a crocodile, and it swam like a crocodile, swinging its big tail back and forth. So the water churned behind it. So yeah, that was just an excerpt from Jurassic Park. But huge reveal there that it's going to be that moment. Who's it going to be? I don't know yet. Maybe they'll reveal some more, but that's massive. Look, I'm going to be super happy that it's that scene. It's not the scene that I wanted. As I started reading Dr. Grant, I'm like, are they going to say Dr. Grant throwing the poison eggs? No. But the lagoon scene is incredible, and I can't wait to see that kind of play out in whatever form this is. Of course, it's not going to be exactly the same because it's not Dr. Grant, it's not the kids. And one thing I talked about on a recent live stream was that there was some concept art of that kind of exact same sequence in Jurassic Park Survival. And I went on a little search during that stream, and I haven't like followed it up, but it seemed like the concept art was removed from the websites in which it was originally posted to, for the raft sequence with the scientist character that's going to be in that video game. So I'm wondering, did it get cut from that game? Is that the reason why the game has gone radio silent? Because they had to reshape a massive portion of this game or a big portion of like an action scene or something? I don't know. I found that pretty interesting. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But confirmation that the raft scene is in this movie. We also have Mahershala Ali here. And it says logistics expert who helped Johansson's team gain access to danger zones, usually war-torn areas. And yeah, he's just kind of sitting at a table. Looks like there's like maybe some money on the table, some card. Looks like he's playing cards. Looks like a card game. Maybe he's in like a hive of scum and villainy or something like that. So since we're talking about Star Wars a little bit. The final ingredient for the film's terror factor, Edwards says, is supplied by the audience. The enduring instinctual fear of being chased and devoured. So he goes on to say, there's something very primal that's buried deep inside everybody. As mammals, we evolve with this fear of the bigger animal that's going to come one day and maybe kill us or our family. The second we see it happening on screen, you're like, I knew it. We had it too good for too long. So yeah, they talk about a little bit about the other movies and kept returning again here for The Lost World and now being back in Rebirth. It's Frank Marshall again here says he came up with this idea that dinosaurs were passé now. People were tired of them. They were an inconvenience. People weren't going to museums to see them or to petting zoos. They were just in the way. And that the climate was not conducive to their survival. So they were starting to pass away and get sick. But there was this one area around the equator that had the perfect climate, temperature, and environment for them. Okay, there we go. So very similar sounding reaction to Jurassic World. So it's kind of funny that they're like, wow, he came up with this idea that nobody cares about dinosaurs anymore. That was the entire thing with Jurassic World. Nobody cared about dinosaurs anymore. So we have to introduce the Indominus Rex. And then everybody goes, yeah. So, but yeah, that's wild that they're kind of going with that same thing. If you have killer animals just surrounding you all the time, do you just eventually ignore them? Like, I guess if they're ignoring you and you ignore them, but like, what about the dangerous ones? Like, I can understand. I mean, they're all dangerous, right? But like, I'm talking about velociraptors or, T-Rex, things like that. Is there a point where all these animals will just ignore you and just decide, I gotta die now? I don't know. Very interesting piece here. I don't know. I gotta wait to see how it kind of develops in film. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I don't know. Let's move on to the next part. It says this leads to a shot in Rebirth that evokes the iconic image from the first Jurassic Park when the T-Rex rips through the visitor center, battles some velociraptors. It roars, topples a streaming sign that reads, "When dinosaurs ruled the earth." In the new film, there's a similar image appears in the opening, but in a less majestic way. Well, he says, "Well, the banner's coming down," Marshall says. Johnny Bailey's a scientist at a museum that's closing up their dinosaur exhibit. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I know that image does appear. Why is it? Okay, it's down here. Since we're talking about it, I'll show it off right here. We'll go back up in a second. So it looks like, you know, this museum was really replicating what Jurassic Park did. So that's interesting. I know some people on like social media were calling me out when I said like or maybe it was on YouTube, but I said like maybe the new trailer will have some flashes of like Jurassic Park in there, so people can remember the past a little bit and kind of reflect on what that meant and how they feel today. Um, and people were like, why would they do that? Why would they call back? This has nothing to do with with the originals. Here, here's your proof. Here's your proof. It's the same exact sign when dinosaurs ruled the earth, and it's a T-Rex. It looks to be like the very similar kind of fossil record there that's just standing in front of the banner. And yeah, but they're taking it down now. So I guess people just don't care. And in this image, we do see Jonathan Bailey looking up at the in the background there. He's kind of with all the people working. He's looking up at the dinosaur, and then in the foreground here, you do see Rupert Friend and Scarlett Johansson. But yeah, so this is a very ornate museum. It looks incredible, and it's just got this one little space here with T-Rex and the banner. So let's go back up. And where were we? Right here, it says the stuff. Those who turn their back on dinosaurs will live to regret it, though probably not for long. Yeah, I guess that's pretty accurate. All right, so they go on to talk a little bit about some other stuff, and Frank Marshall says a company that Rupert Friend's character represents discovers a way to cure heart disease. And he goes on to say, but you need the DNA from the three largest dinosaurs on land, sea, and air. Those three dinosaurs exist on this island where they were first created, but it's a no-go zone. So there we go. We actually get the confirmation of what the disease is. It's a cure heart disease. Okay, so it's not like cancer or anything like that. It's a cure heart disease, and that's why we need the DNA from these dinosaurs. So they go on to say, Johansson actually says, Scarlett Johansson says she's someone who's she's someone who she's a special operative. Yeah, okay. And it says she was in the armed forces for the entirety of her career. She's probably worked for a private contractor for some time, and now she's working for herself. And she says, I was really crazy about the film, and I slept in a Jurassic Park pup tent in my bedroom I shared with my sister for a year. Anytime the trades would report new Jurassic movie, I would forward to my agents like, hey, I'm available. So, yep, there's some very familiar conversations we've heard from Scarlett. And here we've got a brand new image of one of my favorite creatures from the Jurassic franchise, and that is, let's get I feel like we need like a little drum roll here. The Spinosaurus. It's there. The Spinosaurus is back, and we've got Philippine Velge also playing a still unnamed character. Again, I apologize if I've said that name wrong. It says this character clings to the railing of a boat while being attacked by a Spinosaurus. And this is a very like familiar looking image to me. It kind of looks like the Mosasaur coming out of the lagoon or something like that, with the guy hanging off the ladder. It's a very like reflective image of that. But you can tell it almost has more of like a baryonyx look to it. Um, the coloring looks different, and you can kind of tell it's a different looking Spinosaurus from this image alone. But man, Spinosaurus back, and we're gonna see some more. I know there's a few more images here, but let's see here. It goes on to say Johansson was or came close in 2020 when her reshoots for a Marvel movie took place on a British soundstage neighboring that of Jurassic World Dominion. She goes on to say, I was actually shooting Black Widow at Pinewood at the same time. I was like, show me the sets. I want to participate. Only later, when she had a general meeting with Spielberg to go over possible future projects, did her dinosaur dream come true. So I think, I think she goes on to say, I hadn't really sat with him and talked about work, and we spent hours just chatting up and chatting, or catching up and chatting. And then at some point, many hours into it, he was like, wait, we're supposed to talk about Jurassic. I hear you're a big super fan? And she said, it is actually true. I'm confirming. I'm a huge super fan. She did not tell him about the tent. She was like, he's going to think I'm this weird stalker. Yeah, so Steven, guess what? I guess we're really huge stalkers over here because we podcast about it every week. So sorry to everybody out there. But let's see here. She goes on to say, obviously, with all the Avengers stuff, you meet so many fans who are profoundly moved by the characters and the world that you're a part of. I get it. It's always wonderful to meet people like that. I probably should have just told him, but I was like, just be professional. Don't seem desperate. Don't mention the tent. That's funny. So she goes on to say, I just wanted to understand what the stakes were for her and that it wasn't driven by money or power. You wanted it to feel personal for her, she says. You have to love the character and you want to root for them. The movie can't stand on just the dinosaurs alone. So that's a great quote right there. So Zora Bennett is going to be doing something in this movie. The way it was kind of described before was that, she's going to kind of be set for life with money. But, it sounds like there's something more personal here. So my guess is if this is some sort of heart disease cure, maybe somebody in her family has heart disease. And she's like, okay, dad, mom, grandma, grandpa, whoever it is, brother, sister, I want to help you. And this is my way to help you. So I get that. That's pretty cool. She's evolved to be less of a mercenary. She says she's someone who's dedicated herself to saving other people. And I think she's at a professional crossroads. I think crossroads. I think she's burnt out, Johansson says. If all goes well, this can be the job that allowed the character to retire from danger zones. She says, of course everything goes wrong, but that's the fun part. Let's see what else we got here. We've got some more stuff. Promises some other callbacks to Jurassic Park. Bailey hints that his paleontologist, Dr. Henry Loomis, has a small history with Sam Neill's intrepid character. So Jonathan Bailey goes on to say, I've always wanted to make Dr. Alan Grant proud, the actor says. You'll have to wait and see to see what sort of link there is between them. I love it. I love that. You gotta make Dr. Grant proud. Sam Neill would love it. Look, even Dr. Grant. If I was in that world, I'd be making Grant proud every day. Would I be? Would I be doing a podcast in that universe? I don't know. But they talk about dancing through life. And they said this reinforces big cerebral and emotional arguments about the natural world and how we as humans live our lives. Okay. Take a drink here. So he goes on to say, he's a little too fascinated by them and not guarded enough as he guides a team towards harvesting the dinosaur's genetic material. He says, his strengths are his compassion and enthusiasm and hunger for the natural world. That's his brilliance, and that's also his downfall. So he's going to get a little too close, it sounds like. He's going to maybe not take it serious enough. And that's the thing. I think when, there was something about complacency, right? Earlier in this article. I don't know if I read it, but I saw it. And if people are, just kind of chilling with these dinosaurs, not really fussed about having them around in their day to day lives, if you go to a place like this, you can't be complacent. So maybe that's his downfall. They do talk a little bit about extracting the DNA and some other stuff here. And Gareth Edwards goes on to say, to me, it's like a heist movie that meets all the films of Steven Spielberg I loved growing up. The three films that were orbiting were Jaws, Indiana Jones, and the awe and wonder of the original Jurassic. And then we've got an image here. Hold on. This is an image. It says we're going to need a bigger boat. If you are ever surrounded by a mosasaurus and assorted spinosauruses. We've got, in this image, a boat in the center with three spinos circling it, swimming around this boat. You've got their spines, their sails like floating out above the water. Very different looking Spinosaurus sails. These do look more naturalistic. They do look like, the record of the Spinosaurus these days, which is a bit sad for me. I'm sure it's going to look cool. I think, they've done a great job with making more dinosaurs look naturalistic. And I think something like Chaos Theory has really done a good job of kind of representing dinosaurs in their natural forms as well. But man, the original Spinosaurus is one of my most favorite things. So to not have that represented here exactly, how did we get to this point? I don't know. And we do see a mosasaurus, or what looks to be just like a big fish. You can't really see much of it. So you just see like a top of it. And that's about it. You don't see the tail. You don't see the mouth or anything, or any fins or anything really. But it looks like they might be like a crew. Are they like a heist crew too? They're going to steal whatever's on this boat. Yeah, I don't know. They're all kind of swimming together in a way. So that's really, really interesting. And that was something that actually kind of came to fruition a little bit at the end of Jurassic World Dominion, was like different species like living together, it was mostly like animals and dinosaurs living together. But in this case, maybe you've got mosasaurs and spinosaurs and different things kind of working together. Maybe. I don't know. There's more. There's so much more here, apparently. So it says Jonathan Bailey's character channels Dr. Jones in one of these sequences set on a towering cliff when he tries to extract fluid from the eggs of some flying dinosaurs who are said to be the size of fighter jets. Oof. The egg is about the same size as the golden idol from the sequence in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And we've seen this picture. So it goes on to say, Gareth Edwards goes on to say, the original script just referenced the nest in a cliff, and I really felt like we're in Central America. And I like the idea that there was an old civilization here at one point, Edwards says. Instead of a cave, he made the setting an Inca-style old temple that's been abandoned hundreds of thousands of years ago. Inevitably, the second you do that, you're suddenly going, this is very Indiana Jones. Yeah. Hugely Indiana Jones. So there's some more information here. And it's, who says this? Bailey, Jonathan Bailey says, much like in Jaws, you see how three people react to the same extreme level of survival. He says, his Dr. Henry Loomis is like Richard Dreyfuss's bookish oceanographer. Johansson is the battle-hardened leader like Roy Schneider's police chief, Martin Brody. And Ali's Duncan Kincaid, a black ops logistic expert who shepherds them into the island, has elements of Robert Shaw's grizzled seafarer Quint. So Mahershala Ali is in this article as well, and he says, that is his impression, but I appreciate Johnny's observation. He's a film buff, a movie head, and he's always looking for connections and pulling things apart and dissecting them. I love that. Jonathan Bailey, we're on the same page here. Come chat about it with us. But let's see here. Ali may not have necessarily had Shaw's antagonistic anti-hero in his head during the performance, but there are undeniable parallels. So he goes on to say, Kincaid is a guy who at this point in his life has chosen to live off the grid. He's in Suriname, but he's somebody who's been a good friend of Zora's and is always willing to help out when she needs something handled covertly. He's a good-spirited guy, but he's definitely been through some tragedy in his life. All in all, he's learned to live with his wounds, and he's making the best of the life that he has. So, sounds like a good dude, as far as I can tell. Is he going to be a good guy? Bad guy? I've got my theories on some of these characters. I think maybe I've said him at one point, but like, I'm thinking he might be a good guy. I think he might be a good guy here, so I'm gonna stick with him. At first, I was like, okay, he's gonna backstab, he's gonna take the vials and do something with them. I'm not necessarily getting those vibes anymore. And here we got Jonathan Bailey again. This is kind of like a different take on that temple sequence. In this image here, he looks very concerned, and he's staring maybe next to the egg while kind of trying to get the DNA from it. And some more information. We've got, this is just incredible, like, length of an article. And it goes on to say, or Ali goes on to say, doing something this big is very new to me. It's a little bit of a test for me personally. Can I exist in this space or in a space this large in something that's so much bigger than you and maybe your specific talents? It's just hard to pull off. I think the bigger things are, the harder that can be. But there are people in Jaws and in Jurassic Park, in Star Wars, these huge tentpole films that resonated with authenticity and a certain truth and purpose that made those films worth watching again and again. So he goes on to say, I was really going into it hoping to bring something special and buoyant to that character, to really bring an energy and a heart to him. These big blockbuster films, they're not filmed in a way that's necessarily going to set you up to feel that all the time, because it's so hard shooting these action sequences and running from a tennis ball and things of that nature. But apparently he goes on to say, there comes this opportunity for him to evolve because they're having this life and death experience. There are people around them that are passing away, and that provides some perspective shift. Interesting. So the final thing here is he says, it's my polite way of saying that in this kind of movie, people die, right? There's no draft of the film where everyone survives. And there you have it. That is the article from Vanity Fair. Definitely, I think there's some really, really interesting stuff in here. Some stuff that I'm questioning, some stuff that I'm concerned about, but a lot of stuff to love. So I'm very, very excited. The images, each and every image looks incredible. I think the vibe that we're getting from these images looks so great. And I can't wait to see like what the Spinosaurus looks like. And the fact that we're getting that creature in the trailer, whatever that other creature is, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see tomorrow. But that about does it. And we will certainly be talking again tomorrow, so stay tuned. There will be a lot more in regards to Jurassic World Rebirth very soon. So thank you for listening to this episode. Please be sure to watch our live streams. There will be a live stream after the trailer at nighttime, our usual 9 p.m. EST time. And another bonus episode after the trailer. And then stay tuned next week. There should be a conversation with myself and Tom Jurassic, I believe. So stay tuned for that. And Jurassic World Rebirth. It's coming up quick. Subscribe to the newsletter for more information there. Go to JurassicParkPodcast.news or JurassicParkPodcast.com/newsletter. And you can find me on Letterboxd and Blue Sky. Same with the podcast on Blue Sky. But yeah, thank you so much. Stay safe out there. Be kind. And as always, enjoy.